I couldn't wait any longer. I was sitting here watching the clock count down like the rest of you. We are ready to rock and roll. I see that Karen's here, Kayla's here, Fabio's here, Pat's here, Michelle, Tony, Jorge, Wendy, Shane, Scott. Thank you for being here, and everyone else who shows up. You guys are amazing. Karen, it's thank you for my moment to shine has arrived. Thank you for that. It is absolutely true. I am so excited for this. This has honestly been my whole life has prepared me for today. And that's not trying to be a cliche or anything like that. Like things that have happened in my life, and we'll talk more about this, later in this, but things I felt so strongly on a deep, like spiritual level that this is what my life's purpose is, and I'm stepping into it. And here I am like 2 minutes in, and I'm like getting emotional. So the thing that's great about it is this is all for you. Okay. Like this is incredible. Cassie, thank you for hopping on. You are awesome. So today, we're going to talk about some amazing things. And before we jump in, I want to start and ask you guys a quick question. Okay. Are you happy with the sales that you are getting from your stories? It's a simple question. Ask yourself, answer it to yourself, and think about that as we go through today. Are you happy with the sales that you're getting through the stories that you're telling? Okay. This is just so exciting. So today I want to talk about the title of this that you can see on your page is Discover the Fortune That Lies Hidden in Your Story. Okay. So many of us want to be able to tap into that. We see other people doing it and we wonder why we can't get it to work. Well, today we're going to discover those little tricks and things like that unlock that fortune that lies hidden in your story. Okay. So really quick, I want to just go over a couple things before we dive in. I'm not going to do my normal video intro and that stuff. We're just jumping right in, and I hope that that's cool with you. Really quickly, a housekeeping thing. If you have questions, stay till the end. I'm going to answer any questions. If you have a question, type it in with the hashtag question at the beginning so I can scroll through and find it. At the end, you're going to want to stay the whole time. I'll answer any questions that come up during the whole time and all that good stuff. Okay, so that's the first thing. But I want you guys to know and understand that guess what? It's okay to want a customer base that feels like they're your friends and your family. It's okay to not just want transactions and have your customers be numbers on spreadsheets or names in a shopping cart. It's okay to want to have relationships and want them to come back again and again, okay? So you're not weird for thinking that, okay? And also, if you have failed at storytelling in your business in the past, it's not your fault, okay? You have been set up to fail. And we're going to talk about that, okay? Also, if you have been concerned or worried in the past that you can't succeed with storytelling for your business, like you might have tried telling stories and it just didn't work, or it's really a lot harder than you thought it was going to be, you can put those fears to rest today because the friendly giant is here and I've got your back, okay? I understand the concerns and everything that people have. I have them too. I'll talk about some of them here in a bit, but you can put those to rest because things are going to change for you, okay? Now, some marketing celebrities, I'm not going to name names. There are lots of them. There's not just one who does this, but they want you to think that you can use stories to sell like they do and to build a loyal customer base that comes back again and again like they have by just simply publishing every day. But that's not true. Absolutely not true. So I'm here today to show you how to tap into that hidden fortune that lies within your story during this live. Does that sound cool? What do you guys think? Show me your reactions, your emojis, all that good stuff. We're going to jump right in. So my goal from this live today is I want to help you, the people who want to use stories to sell like the gurus do. I want to help you sell like the gurus do. I want you to be able to build a loyal customer base that comes back again and again. I want to help you who want to overcome that overwhelm that comes from hearing the marketing celebrities tell you to publish and tell your story, but they never actually show you how to do it. And it's frustrating because they make it look so easy, but they've spent a lot of time and money to be able to hone those stories in. So today my goal is to level or show you how to level the playing field between you and your favorite marketing celebrities and gain the unfair advantage over your competition. Are you guys excited to learn about this? Huh? What do you guys think? Oh, I'm like so amped up. I was listening to a whole bunch of awesome music and getting pumped up before this, but my goal for this live is for you guys to understand that the only way to use stories to sell like the gurus do and build that loyal customer base is to use my storytelling framework, okay? That's the only way to be able to do it through storytelling. And I first saw this principle in action, the stories to sell like gurus, when I actually witnessed one of my mentors and dear friend Russell Brunson do this in Orlando in 2018. So it was a presentation called the 12-Month Millionaire, and it went through and it was so amazing. I was like on the edge of my seat. I was in this room with 4,000 other people, and he was telling all these stories about how you could have $1 million or become a millionaire in 12 months. And he went through and he did all this, telling these stories, and it was amazing. And then he said, if you want to learn how to do it, go to the back of the room right now. The cost is $18,000 or $1,800 a month. And guess what? Hundreds of people literally ran to the back of the room and they paid him $18,000 to learn how to do it. And I had my mind blown because guess what? I found myself at the back of the room also paying him $18,000. I remembered how I felt, what actions it made me take, and I didn't feel manipulated at all. And I was ready to like take on the world. Okay. So that's my first time when I really saw the power of stories to be able to like get people to take action. And I saw a guru at work. Okay. Now, really quickly before I jump in, like some of you know who I am. Others of you might not know who I am. So really quickly, who is Nick Fitzgerald? I'm a husband, father, best-selling author, and storytelling marketer. I work with entrepreneurs and businesses to help leverage the stories and experiences that they have to sell more of their products and services, okay? I've spent my whole life immersed in stories. I've been professionally telling stories since 2015. I've worked on 13 feature films, 2 television series, a whole bunch of commercials. I lost count. I was a freelance photojournalist for NBC here in Utah. I've worked with Oscar winners and Emmy winners, entrepreneurs, marketing masters, and other master storytellers. And I've also been fortunate enough to teach thousands of people about using stories in their businesses as a speaker at multiple summits, on podcasts, Facebook Lives, and from stage. I absolutely love seeing stories being built and helping businesses build brands, okay? So a little bit more background on me. Like I started, like I said, I've been professionally telling stories since 2015, but I started my business and my entrepreneurial journey then. And it wasn't because I just wanted to go and start a business. I had just been fired as a financial advisor. I was unemployed. We were living in the basement of a family member. We were renting it from him. We had lost our house. We were on food stamps, Medicaid, and I had 4 young kids. And the youngest, William, he was still less than 1 year old at the time. And I decided that I was going to have the crazy idea and start a business because I was sick and tired of working for other people. So I started going out and doing my thing and trying to get clients. And my path was not, a straight path to where I wanted to go. But it wound around and I had some awesome opportunities. I worked as a freelance photojournalist for NBC. Then I started working in film and got into that, and it was a lot of fun. And it was so cool to be able to work with Oscar winners like, Sharon Stone and Mira Sorvino, and I just forgot Steven Soderbergh on shows that I worked on. Getting to see them and the process that they have for creating and telling stories. It was amazing. And I was rubbing shoulders with Hollywood producers and directors and actors, and I was on a first name basis with them, and it was a lot of fun. And it was glamorous to my friends and family. They're like, oh man, you worked on a movie? But there was a big problem. I was not making money. I was making $200 or $300 a day. It's very competitive. So if you try to negotiate higher rates, they just move on to somebody else. And like I said, we were below the poverty line. I was not making enough money to support my growing family. We had the 4 kids, and it was a stressful, crazy time. And I remember in 2017, after I'd been going full steam into this storytelling stuff or into the film stuff, I got word that I was being audited by the state of Utah to see if we had received too much help on the food stamp program. And I was so frustrated. And all of this culminated in me being exhausted, broke, and frustrated with what was going on. And I was working my butt off. I was not being lazy. And so I made a shift. Like I mentioned Russell Brunson a couple minutes ago. He is a good friend of mine, and he opened my eyes to a whole new world of thinking to be able to use my skills and abilities to help other people make money in their business. So I made that shift and got back to my roots and helping businesses tell stories with awesome videos. And the thing is I needed to be able to get clients. I didn't have a bunch of lists or contacts. I didn't know anybody or any of that stuff. I had the clothes on my back and the knowledge in my head, and that was pretty much all that I had. But that was all I had when I got started into the film business. So I knew that if I worked my butt off and did the right things, that I'd be able to, get that, build that up myself. So I started thinking about what I needed to do in order to get and find the right kinds of clients. And I decided that I needed to connect with people and tell my stories and become visible. So I started doing Facebook Lives every day. I remember the first one that I did was actually the launch of the Falcon Heavy rocket that SpaceX did, the first one that they did that launched a Tesla Roadster to Mars. And I went live and did that. And of course, nobody saw it. There were like maybe 2 people that viewed it. And only 1 person hopped on the live. But from then on, I went every day and I was sharing stories. I was sharing my point of view on the world. I was sharing tips or things that I had learned when it came to video production and storytelling, and also just, motivational things and things that I saw in the world, and just sharing my point of view. And guess what? Those 0 viewers started to grow into more and more and more viewers. And I would get comments and people would share, and I would get friend requests, and my friend list started growing really quickly, and it was a lot of fun. And then also, I mentioned how I ran to the back of the room when Russell Brunson offered that coaching program for $18,000. I had the opportunity through that program to go to networking events, to go and meet people, and to be able to hang out with amazing people, obviously get some coaching, but then to be able to just meet new friends and connections and all that kind of stuff. And at these events, I would practice just telling my stories a little bit differently. When you go to any type of event, when there are new people, the first thing that you do after introducing yourself and who you are is people ask, what do you do? And, I would pay attention. Sometimes I would say, oh, I have a video production company. And it was funny when I do that and I would just leave it and just see what kind of response would happen so that I could take it to the next level possibly. The interest level was really low. It was just one of those things where because everyone on here knows at least 1 or 2 people who are videographers or do video stuff and have that as a hobby, or they do it as a profession like I do, right? And then I started to do different things, and I position it a little bit different. When somebody asked me what I do, a different person, I'd be like, oh, well, I actually help brands and businesses build relationships with their customers so that they fall in love with you and come back again and again instead of transactions. So, and I do that through telling amazing stories through video. When I do that, that would get a lot better response. So I just was toying and testing out different things with complete strangers, and many of them became good friends of mine. Some of you are here on this live today. And it was a lot of fun. So I combined those kinds of things and the things that I was learning from my Facebook Lives, and I started to get rapid growth. I started to get people, saying, hey, I need some help with this. Would you mind hopping on a call? And I can't tell you how many calls that I got on that summer where it was free, and I spent a couple hours with people and gave them amazing insights and value, and didn't get paid in return, but that and those connections led to future business. And I started getting clients around the country. And then I got my first international client. And I've helped brands around the world now with stories. And I started to see rapid growth, okay? Now, you're probably wondering, how does this even apply to me? That's great, Nick. You worked in movies and TV, and you've told stories, and you've done all this stuff. How does that apply to me? Well, this is how. I was able to build a loyal following and increase my income really quickly by telling my stories to complete strangers And I did it all from scratch. I did not have anybody when I started out. That's not an exaggeration. Even when I started, I didn't have like, people know that I'm friends with Russell Brunson, but like, I didn't know what he did. He had no idea what I was doing at the time that I started. Okay. And by doing so, I grew my business and was able to help other people with their messaging, with videos and stories, and identifying what types of stories or videos that they need to have for their business, right? And I saw lots of amazing growth. But the thing that was great is I would have friendships that developed from it. Okay. I went from being broke and exhausted and frustrated, renting a basement apartment, being on food stamps and Medicaid and all of that frustration, to generating over $100,000 in revenue, moving into our current home that I'm in now, taking my wife on our first cruise ever. And I did that all in 8 months. I did that by using my stories. Okay. Isn't that awesome? Like, and this is not for you to be like, oh, that's awesome, Nick, you're amazing. No, I want to show you that you, wherever you are in your journey, whether you have friends or colleagues or peers in entrepreneur groups or coaching groups or whatever it might be, or if you're starting from scratch like me, you can do it. And I did it solely on basing and telling stories to people, and they got to know me, and they came back again and again, and I've done business with a lot of them now. Okay. So you can do it too. Okay. So this is what I want to go over today. I have 3 secrets that we're gonna go over. Okay. Secret number 1 is how stories get your customers to choose you over the others. Okay. Secret number 2 is that you have powerful stories within you already. And secret number 3 is you're comparing yourself to the gurus, and that's just not fair. Okay. Who's excited to dive into these 3? Okay. I'm going to grab a drink really quick. You guys are awesome. Again, if you have questions about anything that I say, type it in the comments with #question at the beginning. At the end, I will go through and look through all the questions and answer them, okay? So secret number 1, how stories get customers to choose you over the others. Now, I hear a lot of people and entrepreneurs especially who they're like, I don't understand how storytelling is going to work for me. I just don't get it. I've tried it. It hasn't worked, all that kind of stuff. Now, stories are the way that we can get people to take action and do things. So a story, I've seen story do lots of things throughout my life, but there are 4 specific things that I've seen stories do. I've seen stories create long-lasting relationships, and to create those relationships really quickly. Think of dating, marriage, going to networking events and meeting new people, watching a movie, the relationship you build with the characters, all of those kinds of things. Story is how you build those relationships really quick. And for example, my wife, Liesel, we've been married, it'll be 18 years in July, which is so cool. Give it up for 18, making it that long. But we went on our first date. I remember we met in 2001. I had just returned as a missionary for my church, and we were in college, and we had a class together, and she was super cute. If any of you have seen her, you just know that she's just gorgeous and she's sweet and kind and just the full package. And I saw her and I was like, ooh, I like her. I want to get to know her. So I would crack jokes in class and try to get her attention. And it worked, but I never got really one-on-one time until one magical day, one fateful day when we got partnered up to practice bandaging each other in first aid class. That was the class, first aid. And, we did the stuff and talked, and it was awesome. I made her laugh, sparks flew, emotions ran high, but it was awesome. And after that, a couple of weeks later, my friends and we were getting ready to have a party for Halloween. Halloween is my absolute favorite holiday. And we obviously wanted to have dates come with us to this party. And so I wanted to ask Liesel if she would be my date for the party. So I ask her and she says yes. And I'm like, yes, this is awesome. And tell her when I'm going to pick her up, all that kind of stuff. And I'm got my cool jacket on, strutting my stuff, being awesome. And I get almost like halfway to my truck in the parking lot. And I realize I did not get her phone number or her address or any of that stuff. So I had to run and go and catch her and find her. And I was so embarrassed. And She probably thought I was a major dork, but she believed in me and gave me a second chance, and I got her phone number and went to go pick her up. So Halloween comes, and I go to pick her up, and I got lost. This is back before, having smartphones and maps and all that kind of stuff. And so I got lost, and I had to call her and say, "Where are you? I can't find your house." And I was late. But anyway, we went and we had a date, and it was a great time. Okay. Now we fast forward through all of the fun stuff that happened between then and getting engaged. I remember the day we got engaged. We went out to dinner with my family. My family knew I had the ring for about a month, and I toyed, the Olympics were going on in Salt Lake City. I almost proposed at one point, but I didn't, and all this stuff. And my family knew I was going to propose this day. It was my birthday. And so I'm walking her out to the car after we had dinner and went back to my parents or my house. And I had proposed to her, got on my knee and proposed to her in front of her car. And my family's like peeking through the blinds and all that stuff. And we got engaged, and it was amazing. Now, our first date was on October 31st, 2001. We got engaged on February 28th, 2002. 4 months later from first date to engaged. And then we were married that same July in 2002. That is really fast. And yes, I'm a Mormon, right? So they get married young and date quick and things like that. But you don't take those steps unless you've built a relationship. And the stories that we shared, the stories that you have shared in your relationships have been the foundation for that, okay? So that's just one example of how stories are used to create relationships and create them quickly, okay? Stories also create trust. I mentioned I was a missionary. I lived in Scotland for 2 years. And I went all day, every day for 2 years, knocking on people's doors, talking to strangers in the street, trying to get an opportunity to preach the gospel, right? There is no way that a person that lives in Scotland, where the top 3 topics that they never want to talk about are politics, money, and religion, and I'm knocking on their door, an American knocking on their door, there's no way that they're going to invite me into their living room to talk about religion if I do not build trust quickly. Okay? Nobody's going to give you their phone number if you don't build trust in that you're going to be have have good stewardship over that piece of information, right? And again, like to be able to be invited into a complete stranger's house from their doorstep in a matter of minutes, I've seen stories are the way to build that trust quickly. And I've seen it done in lots of different ways as well when I was a financial advisor. I've seen story to sell things. I mentioned that 12-month millionaire pitch presentation that Russell Brunson did. That was a super expensive thing. And people gladly, willingly ran to the back of the room and gave him their credit cards and paid him $18,000 to do it. I saw him do it again the next year for $25,000. It was incredible. I've seen it sell things. And then the last thing I've really seen a lot of is that storytelling multiplies wealth. Look at guys like Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, even Russell Brunson. He's going to be a billionaire in the next couple of years anyway. He's well on that path, right? But you look at those guys and they have made billions of dollars, impacted tons of people because they tell stories. They tell them again and again. They know the ones that work. They've put a lot of time into it and they've made money. And they've done it, what's the word? They've done it ethically, okay? There are lots of people who make money like without the ethics, but it's not long lived. Tony Robbins has been doing it for like 50 years, right? Storytelling multiplies wealth. I want to share just a couple of examples, just to kind of help you understand how storytelling can help guide your audience to choosing you in the end, okay? So when we are being told a story, research shows that not only are the language processing parts of our brain engaged and working and activated, but any other areas in our brain that would be used if we were actually experiencing that story ourselves are also activated. So me telling the story of, asking Lisa out and then walking to my truck and forgetting her phone number and having to find her back, the parts of your brain that would be active if you were walking back to your truck and realized that you had forgot this major babe's phone number that had said yes, and you had to go, with your tail between your legs almost and be embarrassed and find her and get her phone number. All those areas in your brain, as if you were doing it, are firing. And when you do that, you can get the customers or the audience really, really, really engaged. Okay. Then the next thing is, did you know that when messages is delivered as a story, they can be up to 22 times more memorable than just facts? Here's an example. Okay. The sandwich, the food. The sandwich was invented in 1762 by John Montague. Did you know that? Now you know. You've got that little fact. So now you can go to a party and you're eating finger foods and you have a little sandwich. You're like, oh, did you know that the sandwich was actually invented in 1762 by John Montague? Okay. Now let's hear the story behind how the sandwich was invented. So in 1762, John Montague was the 4th Earl of Sandwich. It was an actual geographic place in England, okay? And he invented the sandwich, the meal that changed, the dining and everything forever. And so the story goes, he was playing cards with his friends at a party. And he was so into the game that he did not want to leave the table so that he could go eat something. He was hungry, but he was having fun and he didn't want to leave. So he asked someone for a serving of roast beef placed in between 2 pieces of bread so that he could eat with his hands while playing the game. He would have a hand free. He could take a bite, do his thing and have fun with his friends. And he had his cake and ate it too, right? Basically, right? So now you know the story of how the sandwich was actually created. Instead of now saying like in 1762, the sandwich was invented by John Montague, now you know the story that he was playing cards with some friends at a party and he didn't want to leave the table. He was a high up dude. He was the Earl of Sandwich. So he asked somebody to do something. They did his bidding. Then he brought it back. And that was how the sandwich was born. Now you're going to retain that so much better. Now when you go to the story or go to that party yourself and share that little anecdote, you're going to be more engaging. The people are going to believe it and understand it and connect with it. And, it's easier to recall. Okay. And then lastly, like research has also shown that audiences are more likely to engage with and adapt messages that make them feel personally involved by triggering an emotional response. And of course, we know that with storytelling, with all of its ups and downs and excitement and suspense and the emotions that it draws is a great way to achieve that. Okay. So, does that make sense? First of all, it's just a great way to be able to connect with people and share what you do with people. And they're going to remember that and they're going to choose you. But you might be thinking now, but Nick, I don't have an audience. What are my friends and family going to think? Are they going to be embarrassed if I start sharing my stories and doing all this kind of stuff? Or Nick, I'm scared to be vulnerable and put myself out there. Like I can't, it frightens me to know what people might do or what people might say if I shared some vulnerable things in my life. Or you might just be like, that's great, Nick, but where do I even start? I have no clue. Well, the truth behind all of that is that storytelling is a fundamental human trait. It absolutely is. For over 27,000 years, when the first cave paintings were discovered, it's been evident that storytelling has been one of our most fundamental communication methods. And I would dare say that it is the main communication method that we use. We tell hundreds of stories every day, whether it's a structured, purposeful story or just telling somebody about what happened when we went to the grocery store. And the other thing is that people crave stories. You're here listening to my stories. You're here because you crave wanting to be able to tell stories to your audience and have them hear it. Guess what? You don't have to worry about what people are going to think or if they're going to judge you or think you're silly or crazy or that nobody's listening. People crave stories. Okay. So how are we doing? We good? Remember, drop any questions that you've got. And we're going to move on to secret 2. Secret number 2 is you have powerful stories within you already. Okay. You have them within you already. A lot of people think, I hear this all the time from people when I talk, especially when it comes to stories like, I'm not interesting. Is anybody even really going to care? I'm kind of boring. I don't have a cool story, all these types of things, all these things. And they're valid concerns. I understand that they are real. I've overcome them. But I want to just share with you one example of me overcoming it. Okay. So in 2017, when I was making that shift, how I wanted to connect with people and attract the right kinds of clients. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a list and all this kind of stuff. I had worked in Hollywood films, but they weren't my stories. They were somebody else's. I worked on Hallmark Christmas movies and all sorts of different types of movies and commercials and things. And I was learning, but like I didn't have a lot of evidence of stories that I had crafted for other people. So I was like, okay, I need to create a video or create something that I can have as a marketing piece. And I did not want to do the standard. I had a lot of cool shots of things that I had done with my camera and on projects. I did not want to just get a bunch of awesome B-roll shots like any other videographer, throw some music behind it, and at the end have my website or have my phone number and email address. Everybody and their dog that I have ever seen and still see to this day has one of those. And they expect to get business and referrals and attract people with it. So I've actually done that in the past before. And guess how much money or how many clients I got from it? Absolutely zero. Okay. And I did not want to continue doing what was not working and what everyone else was also doing. Okay. So I wanted to just create something that told a story because I wanted to help people have amazing story videos for their business. Right. And so I remember it was very vividly. One night I was laying in bed and I was listening to some music tracks for another project that I was working on, that I was editing. And I heard this song and it was like lightning struck my brain. It was incredible. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had all these images and I ran out and grabbed this notebook right here. And I flipped it open and I started jotting down notes. I laid down the crossways on the bed. Liesel's in bed asleep and I'm laying perpendicular and it's dark and I've got my notebook and these are the actual notes. These are the actual notes that I wrote that night. These 2 pages. And I was feverishly scribbling things down, holding my phone up with the flashlight and doing stuff. And I woke up the next morning. I told Liesel about it. I told my parents. I told a couple of people about it. And they were like, oh my gosh, that sounds awesome. And so I was so like pumped up and ready to rock and roll. Guess what happened? Those notes, that idea stayed in my notebook for a couple of months. I didn't do anything with it. I found other things to do. I was working on projects. I found every excuse or reason to put it off until everything was great and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't know why I was putting it off. And it was actually a couple months later, I was at a Tony Robbins event here in Salt Lake City. And it was one of those half-day things, like Gary Vee spoke and a few other people, and Tony Robbins was the last speaker. And during the course of that speech or that presentation, I realized a couple of things. I realized that up until this point, I had been working on other people's stories. It was just a Hallmark Christmas movie. If the story was terrible or it was a bad movie, it wasn't my fault. I was just doing the lighting, or I just did some camera work on it. It wasn't a reflection on me because it wasn't my story. But this was my story. My whole business hinged upon the success of this. As I stepped forward and saying, hey, I want to help businesses tell their stories with amazing videos. If I couldn't execute what was in my mind or it fell flat, then that was a reflection on me. I was also scared, what are all my film friends going to see? Are they going to nitpick everything and see every mistake that I made technically with shooting this or doing that? All those kinds of things. So all those things were holding me back from telling my story. And then I started to think about why that was. And again, it was because it was a reflection on me. If I couldn't do this, I'm a fraud. And if I can't tell my own story, how can I tell a story for somebody else? And I did not, at 37 years old at the time, I did not want to restart my career path again. Okay. It was a deal or no deal thing for me. But in that conversation that I was having and thinking through and working through things, I realized 2 things, or one main thing that helped everything. That whether the story was a huge success and got me clients and business and all that stuff and accomplished what I wanted to do, or if it fell flat on its face and failed, my family, my wife, my kids, my parents, my family, they were still going to love me. Regardless of the outcome, that would not change. And that instilled within me the power and the confidence to go out. And within 2 weeks, I had the video shot and I was in the editing chair putting it all together. And it is now like, known as the Star Wars video, or it's my Friendly Giant Films, introducing Friendly Giant Films video that some of you may have seen. So I've seen overcoming, like, does anyone even care? And having that fear of telling the story in the first place. I also know what it's like to get pulled up in front of a lot of strangers. I got pulled up on stage by Russell Brunson at an event called Traffic Secrets in Phoenix in 2018. And I shared a lot of personal information and struggles and things that I was going through in my life and had gone through in front of a room of 600 people. And I knew some of them, but there were a lot that I still didn't know. So I understand that fear of being vulnerable. And then I spoke again at Funnel Hacking Live in 2019 and shared some of those struggles as well in front of 5,000 people. So I get it. I understand, what the fear that comes from putting your stuff out there. Now, I shared how I created that video. I've spoken on stage at that Traffic Secrets. I spoke on stage at Funnel Hacking Live. I get approached all the time, at events, in my inbox, multiple times a week, or several times, when I go to an event, by complete strangers, people that I did not know existed before that moment, who heard my story. And it affected them. It inspired them to make change. It inspired them to reach out to me because they wanted to get a video or a story created for their business. It inspired them to overcome their challenges or to realize that they weren't alone in the struggles that they were facing. Me telling my story inspired many people to learn and how to take action in their lives and in their businesses, okay? That's the same for you. You can have that. But now I know I can hear some of you right now be like, I'm not comfortable sharing personal information and experiences with complete strangers. I can't get emotional in front of people. I can't cry on video or on stage. What if people lose respect for me because I become a blubbering, emotional mess? I get it. I can hear you. The truth is, you've already overcome all of those things. You have already told thousands, if not millions, of successful stories in your lifetime. You have done it. If you have dated, if you have a relationship, if you've become married, if you've been dumped or broken up or been divorced, you have told successful stories that built those relationships. And healed those relationships as they've fallen apart and things like that. If you've had your heart broken, you have shared that story with your friends. Okay, you have told thousands of vulnerable, emotional stories, and guess what? The people who have heard them, they love you even more. They support you even harder. And that is what you have within you already. And you've been doing it your whole life. But the trick is, the struggle is, how do I do that for my business? Right? How do I make that, like, you're like, okay, Nick, now I get it. I have actually done it. You're owning it. You're realizing it. But now you're like, yeah, but that's regular everyday life. How do I do that for my business? Which brings us to secret number 3. Are you guys ready? What is up, everybody? Are we good? Are we making sense? Have I lost any of you? Again, if you have questions, type them in the comments with #question. At the end of this, stay to the end. I'm going to go through and answer the questions that I see, okay? It'll be an open Q&A time, okay? So, secret number 3 is you're comparing yourself to the gurus. And that's just not fair. Okay, I hear people, I have lots of entrepreneur friends, and I've seen it mentioned in Facebook groups and in conversations that I have where, like, I don't know how to tell stories that sell like my favorite marketers. I just don't know how they do it. I know what it's like to sit in the chair and to hear them doing their thing and having the energy and running around on stage and saying, here's the stuff, and go and buy it. And then I get up and before I know it, I've handed my credit card over and I have invested in myself. But I don't know how the heck do I do that for myself? How do I do that so that the people that I work with, or serve, that they have that same reaction? Okay? Let me explain why you're seeing that difference, okay? First off, these gurus and these marketing celebrities, all these big names that you see in your timelines in ads, and you go to their events and go on their webinars and all this kind of stuff, they spend lots of money on coaches and consultants. They have mentors. They're in mastermind groups. They hire, contractors and consultants and people to come in, and to work on their stories with them, to identify, okay, I've got this amazing launch coming up. I've got this great book, or I've got this course, or whatever it might be. And they help identify the stories and the structure in order to tell that story effectively. Okay, they've spent lots of money hiring. I've been hired as a consultant, as a contractor, to create stories for big brands and starting out brands as well, right? The other thing is these guys and gals have repeated their stories thousands of times over and over. Think of Tony Robbins. I mentioned him earlier. He has been teaching and coaching and helping people for over 50 years. And if you've gone to one of his events, I haven't been to like one of his big, like Unleash the Power Within or Date with Destiny, but I've been to 3 of his like half day, 4 or 5 hour events. And you go to those and you get inspired and you are like ready to walk on fire or run through a brick wall and all that stuff. But he shares a lot of the same stories in every single one. He's done it thousands of times over and over and over. He knows the stories that work. Sure, he has new experiences and new perspectives that come in, and he adds those into his inventory of stories, but he's done it a lot more than you have. So that comparison, you can see why it's hard when you compare yourself to that. Also, the next thing that they've done is these guys and gals have strategically crafted their stories. They've tested them. They've got feedback on them from their in-house teams. They've done beta tests and ads and different things with the messages. They've done all of this stuff a lot of times before it ever went live to you. So you go to an event or you go on a webinar and you see something that's been rehearsed over and over and over again and strategically placed and built to lead you towards the conclusion that they want you to make. Okay? And so you know what it's like. You've been in those things and you experience it. And then afterwards you go, okay, I'm inspired. I'm going to go do it. So you do a Facebook Live or a webinar or whatever it is, and you try it and you have a little success, but it just falls flat. They know how to strategically do things within the stories to get the audience to feel. Because feeling, again, emotion is how people make their decisions. Even those who say they're logical, information-based decision makers, they are that way because of their emotional responses to things in the world that they live in, okay? And then lastly, these gurus, they don't have the time, nor do they have the desire to teach you, okay? They don't have the desire to teach you how to tell stories like they do. And it's not because they're selfish, and it's not because they have nefarious reasons behind it. No, there are bad apples. There are people who might do that. But the majority of them, it's not from being selfish. It's just not their business. You know, they're in the business of selling you the coaching program or the course or whatever it is that you bought from them. It's not to teach you how to sell and how to tell stories like they do. Okay. And then let's just say they pulled back the curtain and said, okay, I'm going to show you everything that goes into my process for storytelling. You'd probably get discouraged with what it would cost both money and time-wise to implement it. Okay. So again, they spend lots of money. They've repeated and rehearsed them over and over and over. They have built them to be strategic, and they don't have the time or the desire to teach you how to tell stories like they do. So again, when you compare yourself to them and then you see what you do and you're frustrated with it, it's not your fault. You've been set up to fail. They tell you that you need to go live or publish every day or be you but louder and all these different phrases that you get thrown around, but they don't show you how. Okay, let me just show you a couple of examples. Like, if you were to hire coaches or, work on some things yourself or with the guidance of a coach. Okay, Donald Miller, you may have heard of him, his brand, building a story brand. He has a book and events and a course and all that kind of stuff. If you wanted to buy an online self-guided video course where you watch things and you take notes, there might be a little bit of extra support, but if you just wanted a video course on how to go through his program and it's all hinged upon you doing the stuff, That course sells for $2,241. Okay. So you're spending $2,200 to get some videos sent to you, and then you go through them. Now, I'm not saying you wouldn't get value out of it and you wouldn't get results, but do you want to have to like pull yourself along, pay somebody over $2,000 for you to motivate yourself through it? It's hard. And they have live events. Well, they used to back before all this Corona craziness happened, right? But if you wanted a ticket to one of their 2-day events, it costs you $2,995 to get a ticket to sit at a table, to sit in the room. They'll probably give you a notebook, maybe a water bottle and some swag, but $3,000 just to have access to the room to hear the information. If you buy VIP upgrades and things that they offer, you're up over $5,000 really quickly. Okay. And again, I'm not saying that you wouldn't get results with it, but you're paying a lot just to get access for the information, okay? If you were to hire a storytelling consultant, if you had a campaign or a launch or something coming up and you wanted to have a consultant really help you structure and build everything, then that typically is going to start at $12,000 for entry-level, low-end work, okay? And it gets over $80,000 to $100,000 really quickly once you start transitioning to more in-depth, in-detail, comprehensive, high-end work with a consultant, okay? There are script writing softwares out there. I use these, but like some of them, they cost over $500 a year. And you go through and you spend an hour or two, depending on what you're doing, and you're putting in all these information and answering these questions, and then you hit the build button, and then what comes out, excuse me, what comes out sounds like it was generated by a computer. Let me grab a drink really quick. It sounds like it was generated by a computer. And you have to do a lot of work after the fact to make it sound like you. Because if you were just to print it out or save it onto your computer and then go live with it, you're going to be like, your audience is going to be like, who is that? If I did that and I was reading it, you'd be like, that's not Nick. That's not his voice, right? So it can be frustrating that way too, to have stuff that can do some heavy lifting for you, but then you still have a lot of work on the back end to really tighten it up and make it sing, right? Heck, I'll throw a rock at myself. If you wanted to work with me one-on-one on working on some stories, I charge $1,997 for a 60 to 90 minute session. Okay? And that's just the nature of getting specialized expertise one-on-one. It costs a lot of money, okay? And it can be frustrating. Now, I know a lot of you have had to do things on your own. Some of you have hired coaches. Some of you have done various different things to help develop your stories. And you might be like wondering like, okay, well, I can't go to a story brand thing. That's way too expensive. How do I do this on my own? I don't want to spend that much for a course. So how do I do this on my own? Or I've tried to tell my story in the past. I've tried it and guess what? It didn't work. Or I don't want, you have the imposter syndrome creep in where you're like, I don't want to sound like the gurus, or I don't want to sound like I'm copying, Tony Robbins, or they're like, oh, he just wants to be the next Dean Graziosi, right? Those are legitimate things. How do I do this on my own? I've tried it in the past, it didn't work, and I don't want to be accused or seen as somebody that I'm copying them. But the truth about all of that is that these gurus, these marketing celebrities, these people that you look up to, they have just had access to resources that you haven't. You just haven't had them. They've spent a lot of time and money that you either don't have the luxury of having the funds to bring in specialists, or you don't have the luxury of time to spend years and years honing things in because you need to feed your family now, right? You haven't had the resources that they do until now. Huh? Really quickly, how's everybody liking this live? Let me look at the comments really quick. You guys are awesome. I've been seeing them popping up, but I hope you guys are having this. Again, if you have questions, type hashtag question. After the end of this, I will go through the comments and I will look and see what questions there are and I will answer them. I promise to answer every question that you have. I won't get off of this live until I've answered every question that you guys possibly have, okay? How are we feeling? We doing good? Man, it gets warm with all these lights on you after a while, right? So here's what we've covered so far. Again, we've gone over the 3 secrets, to helping you unlock and discover the fortune that lies within your stories. Okay. Secret number 1 was how stories get your customers to choose you over the others. Secret number 2 was that you have powerful stories within you already. And then we just finished up secret number 3, how you've been comparing yourself to the gurus, and that's just not fair. Okay. So, who wants to take this to the next level? I'm not joking around. We talked about how these gurus have, all of the resources that you haven't had access to until now. Okay. If you want to take this to the next level, comment "I'm ready," and we're going to jump in. Okay. Now, I know I mentioned this at the beginning, but I have been waiting for this day my entire life. Seriously, I have. Like, my whole life has been preparing me for today. It's not a joke. I have felt it on a deep and spiritual level these last 2 weeks especially. That today was the day with the reason that I was born. I'm 40 years old. I've been an entrepreneur for the last 5 years. I have lost sleep. I have shed tears. I have screamed in outrage and punched the steering wheel in my car after hearing that I was being, fired or audited, or all these challenges and things that are going on. I have gone through hell. Now, pardon my language, but I have. And I don't mean to downplay anybody else's struggles, but I have just had some bad things happen in my life. But all of it is worth it so that I can be ready to share this with you today. Okay? Every great adventure begins with a guide inviting a hero to begin their journey. Every amazing story has that. Obi-Wan extends his hand to Luke and hands him his father's lightsaber and extends the invitation for him to become a Jedi. Gandalf extends the invitation to Frodo to destroy the ring, and they go on a journey. And we know how those stories ended. And we know that the love and the connection that we have to those characters in those stories. I am now inviting you to experience true change. Okay? I'm extending my hand. I've got the lightsaber in my hand. I am your Obi-Wan, extending the lightsaber to you and inviting you to experience true change. And I am obligated by the pain and the joys that myself and my family have endured through my entire life. Every time I've stumbled, every time I've fallen, every time I have messed up, every time I have been victorious, every time I have grown, every time I have moved forward, I am obligated to you and to my family to extend this invitation to you right now. So with that said, I want to introduce to you the Storytelling Framework Masterclass. You've been seeing that down in the corner. Oh, this is an amazing video course that I have put together, and it is all about helping you, the people who want to use stories to sell like the gurus do. This is all about helping you, the people who want to avoid or who want to build a loyal customer base that comes back again and again. This is all designed and all about you and helping you, the people who want to overcome the overwhelm that you get from hearing the marketers tell you to publish and tell your stories, but they never actually show you how. So here's what you're going to get. Who's excited for this? Let's see a whole bunch of emoji reactions, and we'll dive into what you guys are going to get in this Storytelling Framework Masterclass. Okay, first off, you are going to get the Storytelling Framework video lessons. Now, this is an incredible video series where we go through each of the 9 crucial steps in my storytelling framework, okay? We talk about each one of them and how to implement the steps in detail. It's not just like, do this and here's that. And, you know, it shows you how to do these things in detail. I even threw in some clips from some movies and other stuff like that to help keep you entertained, but also to show you the framework in action in the real world, okay? And we go through each of the 9 steps, you know, beginning with the end in mind. Every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Introducing the conflict or problems early. Introducing the key characters, naming an enemy, raising the stakes, being detailed, being genuine, and doing it now and not waiting. We go through all of those things very deep and very specific to help you understand how to put the framework to work in your stories for your business. Now, I want to show you a little bit of proof, okay? Really quickly, I'm going to share this video with the amazing Danelle Jones. She is in New Zealand and she went through these videos, and I want to share with you her thoughts on it. So watch this quick video from Danelle.
Hey there, my name's Danelle and I have an executive coaching and retreats business based in the South Island of New Zealand. And I was once where you are now. So I've been in your shoes and I've debated that level of investment in doing Nick's training and learning how to tell your story. And so I thought I would share a bit of my story. I was about halfway through the training when I decided that I was going to give this a go. I remember we were talking about conflict. And so on a Friday morning, I got on video like I normally do for my weekly blog, and I recorded a video about a transformative moment for me in my corporate career. And that moment was being asked to make 200 people redundant before Christmas. And it was a horrible experience, but it was a galvanizing moment for me, and it's part of why I now do what I do. And so I put this story out there to the world. Started to share. Thought, let's see what happens. Within minutes, I had a comment on my blog. And this first comment was from someone who I had worked with at the time. So he had been with me. He was part of my team. He was with me through this whole process, this whole awful mess, this awful time in my life. And this person left me the most lovely, wonderful comment. And at that point it clicked for me. Telling your story is about connection. And it's about you being more than simply a one-dimensional photo on a page or a series of words on paper. It's about real, raw humanity. It's about making a connection with human beings. And I was sold. I was in it. Like, this actually works. So if you're like me, you probably run into a lot of people that tell you that you need to tell your story. Lots of gurus out there saying you've got to do this, get your message out there, and the way to do it is through story. But what Nick does is he actually gives you the nuts and bolts tools of how to do it. So it's all very well to rev you up, but if you've got nowhere to go, then you're revving in neutral. Nick helps show you that path. And so if there's one takeaway that I've had from Nick and from this training, it's to do it now. Don't wait. I was halfway through the training and my results were immediate. So don't wait. Do this for yourself. Do this for your people. Do it now. Because the world needs you and the world needs your message. And if you don't tell your story, then the people who need your support and your inspiration and energy to lift them out of their suffering will miss out. So do it now.
Oh, I love that. Danelle is an amazing lady. She's awesome. And I'm grateful for her for sharing that. And again, she came in halfway through the training and she got immediate results by putting the framework to action. Okay, so it totally works. Now this worked for Danelle and it worked for other people. I have Tony Torres. I'm going to show you something from him in a little bit, but this works for entrepreneurs, coaches, e-com sellers, agencies, service providers, startups, therapists and counselors, digital product sellers, physical product sellers, network marketers, digital marketers, bodybuilders, calligraphers, and so many more. If you have a business, this framework works, okay? Now, there are two things that would maybe make this not work for you, okay? And that is, if you prefer living in solitude and not serving or helping people, then this probably isn't going to work, because you are going to have a growing fan base of customers that pay you, and you're going to be helping and serving them at a very high level. So if you don't want that, then this isn't going to work for you. And also, if you make all the money that you could ever want, then this is definitely not for you, because this is going to work. And because if you do these things, you are going to get more money than you currently have. And then you're going to be messaging me, being mad at me like, Nick, I had all the money that I could ever want, and now I have all this extra. Leave me alone, okay? So if you don't want those two things, then this won't work for you, okay? So you're going to get the Storytelling Framework video lessons, a $1997 value, okay? You're also going to get the Storytelling Framework template, okay? This is a template that I created that is based on 40 years of being immersed in stories, my whole entire life, and working on 13 feature films and 2 TV series, a whole bunch of commercials, and then putting all that into 3 years of direct and intense marketing study, okay? This is going to help you start your stories, because again, I know you get hung up on where do I even start. This is going to help you start the story, because this is a template and it guides you through the framework step by step. So you'll be watching the videos, you'll be studying the framework, and you'll have this template that you simply fill in the blanks as you're going along. And by the end, you have your story structure in place. It's all done, and now you can flesh it out and bridge all the things and see how it flows. You watch these videos, you fill in the blanks, you do that, and you have your story structure done. Okay? Now, you wouldn't need this if you've already mastered the art of structuring your stories to sell like the gurus. If you are a guru, then you might not need this, but you actually do, because it's going to speed up the time frame for you creating the new stories as you go in and build them for your business, okay? Now, that storytelling framework has a value of $47. So you're getting the storytelling framework video lessons, the storytelling framework template for a total value of $2,044. But you're also going to get these tools, okay? You are going to get the MP3 recordings of the video trainings and a self-critique list. The MP3 recordings are so you can listen on the go at any time. You can download them on their phone. It's on demand. You can listen to it when you're driving to the office, when you're going to the store, when you're working out, when you're going on a walk, when you're mowing your lawn, when you're wanting to ignore your spouse or your kids and tune them out. You can turn these on and you can internalize it. And you can do this without being tethered to your laptop or your computer in order to learn, okay? So obviously, it makes it easy for you to internalize things on the go. Now, the self-critique list is something that helps you evaluate and improve your stories immediately, okay? I have told lots of stories, and I know the things that I do to get my stories really dialed in. So you can evaluate and improve your stories immediately so that you're putting out high quality stories right from the beginning, okay? It just takes a rough first draft, and turns it into a polished, finished story. And this helps you eliminate the self-doubt in your storytelling skills, okay? I've done this work, and I've given you this checklist of things that you can go through, and you run through it a few times with your story, you gain confidence in it, you tell it better, and it becomes more dialed in and awesome, okay? And obviously, again, it helps you strengthen and turn your first rough draft into a polished story, okay? So you're getting the Storytelling Framework video lessons, the framework template, the MP3 recordings, the self-critique checklist, and that gives us a total value of $2,178. But you're also going to get a don't do list, okay? This masterclass is full of a lot of must do's and things like that with your stories. But I wanted to give you a don't do list that I have developed doing over 1,000 Facebook Lives, tons of podcast interviews, and being called up on stage by surprise and stuff like that. There are lots of mistakes that you can make when you have those opportunities. So this helps you connect with your audience quicker and faster because I've removed all the stumbling blocks and the simple mistakes that screw it up for you in the beginning that get an audience to go, ugh, or that kind of stuff. This helps you eliminate that kind of stuff and helps you avoid potential embarrassment and embarrassing yourself. So if you like the potential of feeling embarrassment from your mistakes, then it might not work for you, but it's going to help you really like start off on the right foot with the stories, okay? And that's a value of $37. So we have the storytelling video framework, or storytelling framework video lessons, the framework template, the MP3 recordings, the self-critique checklist, the don't do list for a total value of $2,215. But you're also going to get this a Hollywood resource list, okay? Now this list came from me working 12 to 16-hour days for very little money and being physically exhausted and broke, okay? You don't have to go through any of that. And this is all like, this is a culmination of all the things that I saw in the movie industry, which is now, it's nearly $1 trillion, at least 1970 is when they started tracing the box office dollars and things like that. But how a nearly $1 trillion industry has sold tickets and set box office records again and again without you having to go to film school, and you can just have some great entertainment. I've put this together for you, okay? And it's full of examples and resources and case studies of the framework in action, okay? And in the entertainment industry, so you can see, yes, entertainment is for entertainment, but it is ultimately designed to make money, to sell tickets, to sell ads. So you can see how it's used to make money as well. And this will also help you. You know, you've got a date night with your wife or your husband or your family, and you're wanting to watch a movie and decide, instead of scrolling endlessly through Netflix, you can go through this and be like, okay, we're going to watch that movie. And it will help you, and you'll never watch movies the same, but it will make your viewing experience even better, okay? And the Hollywood resource list is an $87 value. So you're getting the storytelling framework video lessons, the framework template, the MP3 recordings, the self-critique checklist, the don't do list, and the Hollywood resource list for a total value of $2,302. Now you're also going to get a private Facebook group. It's already there and created, and you can get into it immediately. This is a place where you can go to seek support from your peers, where you can feel that sense of community, where you can feel like you're not alone for wanting to sell with your stories like the gurus do, and wanting to level the playing field and gain the unfair advantage against your competition, okay? So you'll get peer support. I will do story audibles within that group where people will apply for an audible with me and we'll go through their story. So you can learn and watch and see what happens and learn from their stories. But also you can apply for an audible yourself and we can work on yours as well, okay? And it's a safe place to test your content and get feedback from other people. And I'm gonna be in the group there as well, you know, interacting with you guys also. So it's a great place to be able to ask for feedback. And that's a $197 value. So you're getting the storytelling framework video lessons, the framework template, the MP3 recordings, the self-critique checklist, the don't do list, the Hollywood resource list, and a private Facebook group for a total value of $2,499. But I'm also going to throw in these bonus trainings for you guys. Are you guys getting like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm going to throw in my origin story secrets training and the power of testimonials training, okay? Origin story secrets is going to help you understand the different types of conflict in origin stories. As you go through the module of like, you know, introducing the conflict and raising the stakes, you will see how there are lots of different types of conflict. So you'll get a better understanding on the different types of conflict that go into stories. And then also you'll receive a guide on getting deeper into your conflict so your audience feels it, okay? And that's a $297 value. And then the power of testimonials bonus training, you're gonna tap into the stories of others, learn how to tap into the stories of others and leverage it for your business, okay? When other people are talking about their experience with you on your behalf, there is nothing more valuable than that. So we're gonna talk about how to leverage that. And then you'll learn also how to know how to extract the perfect testimony with the right types of questions and all of these different things that you can do to get amazing testimonials for your business through the stories of your customers and clients. And that's a $297 value. So you're getting the storytelling framework video lessons, the framework template, the MP3 recordings, the self-critique checklist, the don't do list, the Hollywood resource list, the private Facebook group, the origin story secrets bonus training, and the power of testimonials bonus training for a total value of $3,093. Now, I'm not going to charge you $3,093, and I totally could because it is absolutely worth that. But if I did charge you $3,093 and all it did was show you exactly how to tap into the hidden fortune that lies within your stories, would it be worth it to you? Would it? If all this system did was get you intentional, structured, and powerful stories that sold more of your product, would it be worth $3,093? If all it did was tap into the stories you already have within you right this very minute without having to create anything out of thin air, would it be worth $3,093? And then if all this did was get your stories to sell like your favorite marketers, be on a level playing field with them, and gain the unfair advantage over your competitors, would it be worth $3,093? So if you were able to use stories to sell like the gurus do, what would that be worth to you? And how about if you could build a loyal customer base that will come back to you again and again? Would that be worth it to you? The Storytelling Framework Masterclass is a $3,093 value, okay? And a regular price for that would be $997, okay? But I want to give to you today a very special discount because I feel so deeply that I want to allow everyone to live without the excuse that the tools they needed weren't affordable. I know that pain, and I'm removing that objection and that worry for you today. So today I'm offering the Storytelling Framework Masterclass. You're not going to pay the $3,093 value. You're not going to pay $997. I'm offering it to you special today for $97. $97, and you can get it at storytellingframeworks.com. I just dropped the link in the comments, just waiting for it to come in. Maybe, there it is. Go to storytellingframeworks.com and you can get the Storytelling Framework Masterclass. Is it worth gambling and spending a few minutes of your time to check this out? Even if it does half of what I've said it would do, it will pay for itself so quickly. It's $97. And if that wasn't great enough, you get all of that and it's amazing and it's $97. I have one more thing. There's one more thing. I have an extra bonus training of a Russell Brunson interview analysis, okay? This will be a live session that I will do in the Facebook group in a couple of weeks. And we're going to go through an interview that I did with Russell Brunson at Traffic Secrets. I was unexpectedly pulled on stage and coached in front of 600 entrepreneurs by Russell Brunson. It wasn't something that I had days or weeks to prepare for. I got a Voxer message at 11:30 at night, the night before, saying, hey, I have this idea that I'm thinking about doing. I might not do it, but if I do, would you be down for it? And I was like, sure. And it wasn't until about 3 or 4 o'clock the day of, just a matter of hours before, when it was a go. Okay, so I was pulled up unexpectedly on stage and coached in front of 600 people. And I want to do this to so you can see the framework, the storytelling framework at use in a live setting on stage, and the stories that Russell tells and the stories that I tell, and how it effectively paved the way towards a hugely successful book launch, the Traffic Secrets book that he is in the middle of the launching and doing right now, but also what I was able to do with my business and how I was able to leverage it and take those stories and that event and grow my business as well, okay? He's a multimillionaire, soon to be billionaire. I am a 100,000aire, soon to be millionaire, right? So wherever you are in your journey, some of you have seen that interview on stage or heard it in a podcast interview. I am going to break it down and show you the framework in action done by a master guru marketer and by me, okay? And the total value for that was easily $597. So you are getting the storytelling framework video lessons, the storytelling framework template, the MP3 recordings, the self-critique checklist, the don't do list, the Hollywood resource list, the origin stories, secrets bonus training, the power of testimonials bonus training, and the live bonus training in the Facebook group of the Russell Brunson interview that I did at the Traffic Secrets event in Phoenix in 2018 for a total value of $3,690. And I'm offering it to you today for $97. That's not a mistake. You heard it correct. $97. You just need to go to, oh, where's my comment? Go to storytellingframeworks.com right now. Okay? Now, what questions do we have? Let's open it up for some question and answers. Okay? I'm going to scroll through the comments. Who is with me? Who has questions? Let me go through all of these. There's a lot. Thank you for all the comments and everything. I'm looking for a hashtag comment or question. If you have a question, drop one in the comments right now and I will happily answer it. I'm just looking over at my other screen with the comments on it. Thank you all for the great comments and everything. This is awesome. How many of you have left and come back and got the storytelling framework secrets or storytelling framework masterclass? Okay. I'm still not seeing any comments yet. Karen Poole says I need to hear all her wheelchair disaster stories. That's true. Oh, here's a question. Aaron Stewart says, how do you know which stories are the best to share and when? Now, this is incredible. Like, we go into this in the very first video training, and it's all beginning with the end in mind. So I'll give you this. When you set the intention and purpose of the story that you want to tell, if you have a launch coming up or if you're wanting to do a Facebook Live, as you set that intention and ask yourself what you want the audience to feel, think, and do, then you start to identify which stories to tell. Okay, you don't always have to start with your whole life travel log and all of that crazy stuff, right? It's one of those things that you do not have to struggle or wonder when you should tell it or what you should tell. When you have an intention before every story that you tell, you now know which stories that you need to tell. And of course, now is the time to tell them because you've identified the outcome that you want the audience to take. So that's something that we totally go way deep into in the first video lesson about beginning with the end in mind. But again, just that little nugget, when you set that intention with your story, it helps you identify what experiences you had that led to that in your own life, and then you can share that along the way, okay? Let's see, what other comments do we have? Or questions do we have? Vince Trujillo asks, what streaming software am I on? This is Ecamm Live that I am using for my live stream. So Ecamm Live is what I use. Let's see. What other questions might there be? Ready. Awesome. Hot. That's cool. Okay, those are the only questions. If there are no other questions, let's bring it home, shall we? Now, again, the storytelling framework masterclass is life-changing. Like Tony Torres, I want to share his thing. If you're on the fence with this at all, like, sure, that works for you, Nick. You've done it a bunch. And Russell Brunson, he's been doing it for years. We saw Danelle Jones from New Zealand and how it worked for her. But let me share with you Tony Torres and his experience with what he got from going through the training, okay? So here we go with Tony.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Tony Torres, and I just wanted to make this quick video to give thanks and show my appreciation to Big Nick Fitzgerald, man. This guy has has allowed me to see the light. All right, I was kind of, I was lost. I was lost in my stories. I was lost in how to tell a story. I was lost in where to start a story. And I remember being at FHL, Funnel Hacking Live 2020, and an individual who I consider to be my sister runs up to me that day. She goes, "We're going to meet the big giant. We're going to meet the friendly giant." And I'm like, "Where?" And she said, "He's going to be downstairs. He's going to be doing a little workshop with us and yada, yada." So I didn't really pay no mind because I didn't know who he was. And when she comes back, she goes, "Oh my God, it was amazing." And I'm like, "Well, what does he do?" She goes, "He tells stories and he helps people with how to develop stories and so on and so forth for their business." I was like, "Oh my God, why didn't you tell me that's what he did before? I would have went." But you know, we get back home and I go right away to the computer. I look him up, Facebook, and I find this page, and then I start watching some videos, and I start getting pulled into his world of storytelling. And he was offering his storytelling frameworks, and I gotta tell you, I took that course, and I see it clear as day now. It is straightened all the confusion out for me. The guy's just amazing. He made it so easy to understand. I'm very visual, and he was able to help me understand it by putting actual movie clips of what and correlating it with the frameworks, so that you know what step one means when it happens in this movie. And that's how I learned. And to me, it was like bulbs started going off, bing, 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 and I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy's amazing. So you know, I want to send a big thank you to Nick. And if you're on the fence about working with Nick or buying his products, I'll tell you, you better jump off that fence, because it'll be the last fence you'll be grabbing onto when it comes to this guy. He is amazing, incredible storyteller, incredible teacher. All right, not many people can teach what they do, but this guy is an amazing teacher. Most people tell you what to do. He teaches you how to do what he tells you to do, which is just, it's I'm in awe, really. So thank you guys for listening, and Nick, thank you very much. I love you, my man, and see you guys on the other side. Thank you. Take care.
Oh, and Tony commented on this. He said, "This is 10,000% worth every penny," and I would agree. If you want to be able to have that clarity, like Tony has, he was struggling, and he has seen the light, as he said. If you want to see the light, if you want to be able to sell like your favorite marketing gurus, if you want to be able to level that playing field between you and them and gain the unfair advantage over your competitors, the Storytelling Framework Masterclass is for you and will get you there. Let me just throw the link up on the screen one more time. StorytellingFrameworks.com. $97 for this amazing video course. Now, if you're still on the fence, just like Tony said, if you're on the fence, jump off. The only time to do it is now. Now is the time to open up another browser, type in StorytellingFrameworks.com, and get started. The only way for you to really know if this is right for you is for you to get started right now. Okay? You can do it. Your life and your business and everything that you have struggled with up to this point in your business, in your communications, in your storytelling, in your marketing is about to change with this simple framework that I have laid out and given you the keys to the kingdom. Again, my whole entire life has prepared me for this day. This already works for me. I don't need this. I do this every day in everything that I do. This is not about me. This is all for you, and it is all about you. My entire life has built to this point to serve you and give you this opportunity and extend this offer to you. And at $97, my wife might kill me for charging so little for it. We'll see if I live through the rest of the day. But it's an insane value, and you can do it now. I've removed that worry of not being able to afford and have access to the tools and the resources that the gurus have always had, that successful businesses have had forever. Now it's your turn. So go to the link right now and get the Storytelling Frameworks Masterclass. You sit on the edge of changing everything in your life and your business by telling your stories intentionally, with power, and serving the people that you want to serve, and earning the income that you've always wanted as a result. It just takes one story. Go to the link right now, and we will see you very soon. Remember, it just takes one story.